Feature address by the minister. With the lights on me here, I feel as though we're in the night. But I know quite clearly by the faces around me, some drawn, some tired, some excited about today's proceedings, that, we are indeed early hours of the morning. So I want to wish you a good morning to each and every one of you. This is where you have the opportunity to respond. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here this morning. I want to firstly thank the CEO of Fujitsu Caribbean, Mr. Mervyn here. I want to also recognize, of course, Dr. Dorian Noel, the Deputy Governor of Central Bank, Trinidad and Tobago. I know Dorian from my academic times at the UWI, and I think this is the first time I've seen him in quite a long time, so good morning to you, sir. I also want to recognize Kirk Henry, the Chair, Digital Transformation, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Now, I have a speech here, well written this morning, and I want to thank the persons that were involved. But I do want to share a bit this morning about my experience having traveled very recently to the United Nations, and also a specific conference that I went to while I was there called 50 and 5. Trinidad and Tobago is now a partner, a representative of the 50 and 5, which is a digital public infrastructure essentially agenda, where we are pioneering digital public infrastructure in the next 5 years. Each member country required to activate DPI in their region. So it's a great honor for me to be here this morning with all of you good folks. I know we are kindred spirits and that we're all here for one purpose. And at the Hyatt here, on behalf of the people of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, I want to welcome you officially to the inaugural Fujitsu ActivateNow Summit. I think we have something to be immensely proud of. I think as a Caribbean people, we are thought leaders. And more than that, we have the DNA of creativity. And so this theme, it resonates with me because it speaks to one thing: activation, and the word now. And what does that mean for us as Caribbean people, as technology is evolving, as we are engaging with global partners, as we are engaging with global leaders at these levels, at the United Nations, in New York, speaking to persons who are the pulse of technological transformation? What is our stake in that? What is our stake in forging the path for a ready Trinidad and Tobago, for digitally ready Trinidad and Tobago? Not only for ourselves, but for our children. In economics, is a concept called inter- and intragenerational equity. It means how do we create the now, but also ensure that the future is bright. And I think when we have conversations like this, when we have conferences like this, we must always keep one thing in mind. Are we here for simply to talk? Is this simply rhetoric? Or are we really here to activate now? And the urgency behind that word should be the urgency that each one of us takes to heart, because it requires us to move from academia. It requires us to separate ourselves from private business. It requires us to look deeply into what is the future of our country, and I dare say the future of our Caribbean region. If we do not act now, if we don't take these type of discourses seriously, if we don't actively engage with private sector, if we don't actively engage with government representatives, I can tell you that from the meetings I've had in the UN, on the tip of every tongue is the concept, and now I feel it's flooded all of media, artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? What great potential does it have for people? What great potential does it have for businesses? What great potential does it have for the diversification of an economy that we certainly need to activate now? And so these are the questions that are not only on our minds, but on the minds of every Caribbean leader. How do we participate in the digital public infrastructure conversation? How do we participate in e-identity? And how do we take these theoretical concepts of interoperability and data sharing? How do we really take the physical component of public infrastructure when we speak about data centers, when we speak about cloud, when we speak about data governance, and when we speak about the sovereignty of our data? These are the conversations that these type of conferences are meant to really embark upon looking at and to contemplate in a real way. So this theme of this summit is powering regional progress. And three words that came out of it for me is technology. We want to utilize technology as much as possible. But in the use of technology, there's a famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi that says, technology must not surpass humanity. And so there's a human concept there. And this is probably why, as a government representative, I'm here. Because I am meant to represent the people and their interests. And their interests are intertwined with your own interests. Because a digital future requires everyone to have technology. It means the person in Port of Spain, the person in Scarborough, the person in Sandy Grande, the person in Toco. We must all have the same power to utilize technology. Technology must be equitable. It must be tangible. It must be real for all of us. Because if we're not speaking about the equitable distribution of technology, then we are really not participating globally in what that potential can be. So I want to speak about technology. Second thing I want to speak about is trust. There can be no transformation without trust. When we're speaking about concepts such as data, it requires a vulnerability from you and I, because as a private citizen, you must trust the individuals that harness and utilize and secure your information to use it in your best interests. And that's a responsibility of the government, but it's also a responsibility of our partners, like Fujitsu, like other stakeholders here, where we provide the gold of the future, which is our data, to companies to make our lives inherently better. So there's a trust component there that we can't escape. And then the concept of transformation. AI has really been transforming industries. When we look at healthcare, it's transforming healthcare. When we look at logistics, it's transforming logistics. When we look at transportation, it's disrupting transportation. Most importantly, it's also disrupting the labor market. A United Nations report has revealed that in the next 5 years, 26 to 38% of the labor market will be disrupted by artificial intelligence. What does that mean? Do we sit on our laurels and expect that things will fall into place? No. Transformation requires us to have human transformation. Transformation requires us to use the HR terms that we're so familiar with. I'm sure many of you have a department dedicated to transformation, human transformation, empowering individuals, upskilling, retooling. All of these are things that we have to embark upon. As the theme says, we must do it now. So there's an urgency behind the technology. The world is pushing this urgency. It's not our own agenda. There's a trust component that we have to encompass. This trust component is essential for progressing not some individuals, but all individuals. And of course, the transformation. The transformation requires us to have human transformation, where we are also bought in to the solutions that will be provided by private sector as well as government, because there must be participation. And in order for that to happen, the anxiety related to the technology must be removed. And that is the responsibility of the government in part. And as the Minister of Public Admin and Artificial Intelligence, the government has been embarking upon many transformational interventions that will allow for citizens to be part of the process and not feel left behind. So I think at the moment we're here at the Fujitsu conference, the ActivateNow summit. We have a lot of bold decisions that we need to make, but we also have a shared vision. And I think in this room, there's so much opportunity for strategic collaboration that can certainly shape our future and the future of our children. Across the Caribbean, people are asking a couple key questions. How do we harness technology to improve lives? How do we ensure digital trust in an age of rapid change? And most importantly for us, I think, how do we transform our economies and our societies for the benefit of our people? And I think these are not abstract concepts. These are not abstract principles. And so I shared earlier one of the events that I attended, the 15-5 milestone event. And the priority was all government services online, efficiently, and cost savings for public administration, and the creation of a truly digital nation. This is something that Trinidad has been trying to do for quite some time. How do we create a truly digital government service? And part of the vision of the Prime Minister was that we would take the Ministry of Public Administration and combine it with the Ministry of what was known as digital transformation. And that combination, under the umbrella term of artificial intelligence, can be the fuel that we need to ignite our public servants, and by extension, all our stakeholders, towards the power of what this technology can potentially provide for us. So we're speaking about efficiency, we're speaking about reduction in costs, we're speaking about doing things better, we're speaking about strategic alignment, and using the technology to then empower what would be traditional public services, but in a way in which all citizens benefit. I'm sure many of you have been in a line somewhere experiencing the gift of public service, and you've been challenged, and you wonder to yourself, why? Why are we still here? Why are we still at this point? Can more be done? Can we do better? And so the conceptualization of this ministry was for that purpose, to combine public services, government frontal-facing products and services that people use, that citizens engage in and with, and of course, make that process a lot better. So I want to say our participation in the 15-5 campaign was one of strategic vision, and we are now alongside the movers and shakers of digital transformation. We're speaking about Estonia. We're speaking about countries like Singapore, Norway. And this signals the readiness of our nation to be a part of the process, and not just to be recipients of that process. What are the DPI components that the government is focused on? And I'm sure the private sector as well would also be participants in this. A true national digital identity system, providing every citizen with a secure, seamless access to government services. That's one. The second component is a truly centralized, consolidated interface for e-government portal. Many countries have termed it the One App, where all public services can be accessed in one interface. I think that's something that we've made a lot of progress on, and through our partners such as the UNDP, the IDB, CAF, and many other organizations, we are pushing the boundaries of how quickly we can get that done. So I promise you that the government is working hard with urgency to activate now on those particular pillars. And of course, digital payments. We just introduced, or I should say transformed, one of our agencies to now incorporate national payments. This would reduce a lot of the time in which government both pays and also receives cash and money. So your businesses, you understand cash flow is an issue. The government also faces those challenges with cash flow. And so these mechanisms are very strategic mechanisms with the intent of increasing the efficiency of government and by extension, removing the pain points for many citizens. But I want to be clear on one thing. The technology alone can't save us. We speak about artificial intelligence, but there's also human intelligence. The human intelligence is what is used to, I see my friend smiling there. The human intelligence is equally important. And the human intelligence puts the citizens as the forefront of the technology. And so this is the goal of, in many respects, of the Ministry of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence. But I want us to embrace the new technologies that will be coming in the coming months, in the coming weeks, the coming months, and into the years. And I want us to know that you are equal stakeholders in that process. We have moved to involve as many persons as possible for you to be part of the conversation. And conferences like this, meetings like this, help shape the importance of how the government views companies like Fujitsu and conferences like the ActivateNow conference. And so I want to challenge all of us to break any preconceived notions of what public-private partnership can be. And I want us to truly embrace the concept of individuals being a part of that process. You know, the quote, "I must be the change I wish to see in the world." You know, these are very cliched statements. But I like cliched statements because it becomes cliche for a reason. It means the tenets of the cliche are important, and so important that it allows and facilitates repetition. And that is what we need. We need to really think about us being part of this journey, embracing the process. What can I do as a citizen, as an individual, to push the dial for Trinidad and Tobago? And I tell you, based on my travels, every country is looking towards Trinidad and Tobago as being the lighthouse of this technological transformation. I just participated in the Caribbean Telecommunications Union annual agenda meeting. And among those persons were ministers from various CARICOM countries. And they're asking us, how can Trinidad help and assist? How can we collaborate? How can we effectively communicate? Because they understand that isolated and alone in a silo, much less can be achieved than with collaboration. So this room is a room of collaboration. And I think let this conference today define what the Caribbean really means in terms of collaboration. We must be a region that leads and not lags in the digital era. We must be a region that creates and not only consumes innovation. We must be a region that includes everyone in its digital future. And I want us to be bold in these ambitions, unwavering in our unity, and steadfast in our pursuit of progress. We must ensure that our people are prepared, our innovators equipped, and our governments resolute. Now together, let us drive regional advancement through technology, trust, and transformation. So ladies and gentlemen, politicians have a way of getting away from themselves. I will try not to do that this morning, but I want to welcome you again to the Activate Now Summit 2025. And may our discussions today be bold, one of partnership and deep partnership, and of course our outcomes transformative. Together, let us forge a Caribbean digital future that is inclusive, most importantly, not only sustainable, but resilient, and of course, globally competitive. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Smith.